Hello and welcome to our video. So what we want to do in this video is to go through Reverse Tide's education and training services. Now this is a new line of business that we're offering to education institutions, governments, corporations, not-for-profits, anyone that interacts in the education industry or provides training services for their staff. And we offer two different types of services, but we're going to give you examples of so many different things that we can not only do, but add value to your company. So let's go through all of that, and we're going to start off with an introduction. So you can find out a lot more about me and a lot more about Reverse Tide if you go to our site, reversetide.com. But very quickly, my name is Dan Perry, and I'm the founder of Reverse Tide. Now, I'm a management consultant by trade, so these sort of services are definitely within my wheelhouse. I primarily worked in the banking industry for most of my career, but a couple years ago, I started Reverse Tide and really shifted my focus to the learning industry, to the career sector. And now we're starting to offer some very similar services to the education industry. Now, what did I do at that point? I helped businesses with strategy, operations, project management. We do all kinds of things like assessing the business, recommending a strategy, helping provide the business case, and then work as a middleman to whoever's implementing it, whether it's the business, IT, or someone else. And the ultimate goal was always to either increase revenues or to decrease costs. Now, I exited consulting to work on Reverse Tide because we know that a revolution is coming to the education and technology sectors and how those two things interact. Now, we exist as a website right now to help individuals learn professional skills. And if you go to our site, you'll see all kinds of different learning paths in subjects within technology, business, marketing, and much, much more. But we also have a large presence within technology as well. And we're evolving to make ourselves a virtual learning company and training consultancy. And that's exactly what I want to talk about in this video. How can we help your business, your organization, your government, or whomever discover all that's coming in the education industry and help you seize the opportunity that's in front of you? So what we do is we offer two different services. The first is more of a fixed fee business services type of thing. So we offer a lot of different things, but we can summarize it by saying a couple of different things. So number one, we help achieve better student and organization outcomes. We're very, very outcome focused. So whatever your goal is within this sector, that's certainly something that we want to help with. We help integrate modern technology into curriculums. So whether it's a training curriculum, a formal student program, or something else, we help bring technology and leverage all the best and exciting things that are happening in the ed tech space. We help realize early adopter advantage in the virtual and augmented reality markets. So we actually have an entire line of service dedicated to virtual reality because we think this is the next great communication medium. And we see unbelievable potential in the learning industry. So we want to help you be an early adopter and seize all of the advantages that that entails. We also build experiential and highly collaborative learning. That's a core concept that we currently do at Reverse Tide, but we want to bring that external as well to your organization. And then most importantly, if I had to sum it up, we are all about modernizing and innovating the business model associated with education and training. So those are the things that we do in terms of business services, and we would act more as a consultant, as an advisor, and do so for a fixed fee. And of course, we would negotiate what the scope of that would be, what the fee that entails, and so on and so forth. Now, our preference is actually to enter some very similar services, but do so as a joint venture. And obviously, the terms would be to be determined at that point, but what do we do specifically, and what are we looking to partner with other organizations for? We want to create profitable digital and VR content. We want to develop a modern education platform. We want to distribute learning services to a mass market. We want to help build skill and outcome-based training and learning paths. Very similar to how we do today, but we want to actually go a step deeper and actually build it, not just partner with other teachers. And finally, we want to change education as we know it today. We know what the future of education is going to look like, and we want to play a prominent role in trying to shape exactly what we see. So those are the sort of things that we want to partner with other organizations and highly motivated people who share our vision and want a dedicated partner that can add a lot of value. So that's something that we're certainly looking for, and if anyone is interested in terms of a joint venture or partnership of any sort, those are the sort of things that we want to do. Okay, so for the rest of this video, what we're going to do is we're going to go through 5 different examples. And any of these examples can either be done through fixed fee business services or through a joint venture. But we're going to give some pretty large examples, big projects that an organization would be wise to undertake, and then how we can play a part in that in terms of helping them and bringing value to them. So we'll go through those 5, and just keep in mind that these are not the only 5 examples, the only services that we offer. These are big examples, and we of course would, if we were engaged with you, we would be looking to listen to what your goals are, what you need help with, and then ultimately play a role in helping you achieve that. So let's go into the first example. Okay, so this one is titled History VR Content. So for each of these, we'll have a scenario, how we help, and then the expected result from the client. So here we go. So in this example, an education company wants to be the leading distributor of amazing history content. So rather than write the best book, produce a great History Channel documentary, or create an online course, the company wants to do it in virtual reality. And they want to create something revolutionary. And not only create something great, but distribute it to schools, to history enthusiasts, and anyone with an interest in outstanding content. So obviously that's how they would make their money. So how would we help achieve exactly that sort of a vision? So because this is an education company, they know the history part quite well. They know all there is to know in terms of the research and how to tell that story to prospective students. What they need help with from Reverse Tide is the following things. So first, the market for VR learning apps, really understanding what exists in the virtual reality marketplace, how they can play a role in that, and really to develop a custom strategy and business plan to make it viable for their education business. Second, they need help in producing it for the VR medium, because that's a very different communication and entertainment medium than anything else that exists today. So what sort of things? The features of VR, how to tell an immersive story using 360 degrees, how to actually create dialogue within that VR environment, all the action that would exist in telling a history type of story, and those sort of things. So it's actually producing the content. Third, they'd want to understand how to hire VR-specific developers and designers in order to bring their vision to life. And that's obviously a big thing because not everyone has that skill set, not everyone knows where to locate such people, or how to really arrange a deal to do this sort of a thing. Fourth and finally, they need help in actually managing the project from beginning to end. So the content, visualization and creation, the requirements that they would ultimately hand over to a developer team, the actual development itself, and overseeing their efforts, testing, that sort of a thing. At the point of implementation, they would need help with distribution and marketing, all the updates that would be required post-implementation, as well as support. So that's how we would help, those 4 things. Now, what would be the expected result of a project like this? And again, whether it's a business service or a joint venture, here's what we would be looking to achieve. So let's assume that they want to start with a 10-part, 4-hour immersive experience, and they want to tell the story of World War II. So their expectation is that it would look like this when it's finished. Number 1, they would witness lifelike battles in 360 degrees. You would hear the bombs going off and people shooting. You would see the different tactics that the generals use within each of the different battles. You would witness it firsthand as if you actually experienced it yourself. You would be able to talk to key figures as if they exist in real life. So you might talk to soldiers and generals. You might talk to the people who are leading each of the different countries and really get a really firm understanding of what they look like, what sort of scenarios they undertook, and obviously just feel like you're a part of that experience. Their expectation is that an experience like this would really tell the history in an immersive way and tell an interesting story. So that's their expectation of what this sort of an experience would do for the student. Their expectation is that the experience would allow users to walk through the geographies of the war and seeing the conditions as if you actually traveled through time and experienced it yourself. And of course, they would want a paid app that has a market across the education sector so that they can profit from selling it to those sort of people. And then, of course, subsequently launch other history experiences beyond just World War II in virtual reality. So that's the result that they want. They want something that's really immersive and exciting for a user. They want something that has educational value. They want something that they can make a lot of money for. And finally, they want to use that as a launching pad to ultimately be a big player in VR. So that would be the expected result. And based on the services that we told you we would provide, we would be expecting to create exactly that. Okay, so that's example number 1. Let's go to example number 2. So in this instance, you would have a curriculum development. So here's the scenario. A private secondary education school wants to be the best in the world. They pride themselves on creating the best outcomes for their students. They realize that the curriculum is outdated and isn't helping students with the skills they need to thrive in the modern world. So they decide to modify their curriculum with the intent of providing excellence in both experience and outcome. Okay, so how would we help them do exactly that? So with deep knowledge of the modern and future economy and what skills are most relevant to it, Reverse Tide takes the job, and what we do is we help them build excellence within that curriculum, exactly what they want. So what we would do is we would help replace outdated textbooks with immersive and experiential learning resources. So we just talked about one with VR, but there's many other ways we could do it as well. We would leverage technology for the best learning content, collaboration tools, and project-based work. So not only would we use it to create new, outstanding content using their teaching force, but maybe we would look externally to the market and leverage what already exists today. But not only for content, but for collaboration and also doing experiential work as well. Third, we would remove emphasis on things like memorization and test taking, and we would change it into a more critical thinking-based curriculum. Finally, we would modernize subject requirements with a greater emphasis on the subjects that are relevant today. Things like programming, data science, design, applied mathematics, finance, nutrition, and so many more different things. So we would help with all of those things because that's what we have expertise in. We've done it ourselves online at Reverse Tide. Well, we want to help them and customize an approach for their specific students. And we would do exactly that if we were to partner. Now, what would the expected result be? The objective of the school is twofold. So first, it's to create a learning environment where students are eager to learn. And that would include the methods, the subjects, the technology, all the different aspects of learning. And then secondly, we would create a curriculum that can measurably produce better outcomes for students. So Reverse Tide helps do all the above, and we would work with the school on the strategic curriculum that we noted previously. We'd work on how to integrate technology. We'd set up metrics to measure success, and we would train teachers to better serve these goals. And ultimately, the expected result, of course, is they wanted to be the best in the world, so we would help them achieve exactly that vision. Okay, example number 3. This is for a government, and this specifically pertains to their education department. So here's the scenario. A federal government decides to invest heavily in the country's education. It recognizes education as a key component of being economically competitive in the years to come. So it wants to build a broad education program across many subjects, but provide extra focus in technology. It has wisely decided to break down barriers and focus on achievement and outcome, rather than worrying and preserving traditional methods. All right, so here's how we would help a government with that sort of a goal. So Reverse Tide would be brought in as the primary vendor in implementing new technologies across their education sector. So some of the things that might include would be replacing the traditional classroom learning model, customizing education for each student, using digital and VR/AR methods to create and distribute educational content. We would train teachers to create content through technology. We would use digital learning solutions, and we would build a robust technology curriculum so that upon graduation, students would be qualified for entry-level tech jobs, and that would be the outcome, of course, that the government is seeking in order to bolster their economic competitiveness. Okay, here's the expected result when the project is all said and done. The government visualizes becoming the Silicon Valley of education, and they have a multi-year plan to do that. So their goal is that within 3 years, they would implement a competitive technology curriculum nationwide. So we would play a role in helping them do that. Within 5 years, they would primarily teach via digital means and eliminate that traditional classroom, which was, of course, one of their goals. Within 7 years, they would be capable of delivering education to customers or students around the world. So not just a program for their own students, their own country, but they would be able to distribute that externally. Within 10 years, they'd be able to be ranked #1 in country education rankings. So there's a number of publications that actually rank countries on that. They aspire to be #1. And then finally, throughout the process, they would realize economic benefits of a better educated workforce with improved career prospects. So that is the result that they want to achieve. And as you can see, Reverse Tide is well placed, well positioned in order to help them accomplish those very goals. Okay, example number 4. So let's move on to a corporation and let's talk about helping with their training programs. So here's the scenario. A large multinational corporation has extensive training needs across their organization. New recruits will go through a mandatory training. The company then emphasizes upskilling across a lot of subjects like technology, business, sales, and various industry subjects. And then, of course, there's a more specialized training on job-specific policies and procedures and other things that they need in order to be successful. So the company believes it can do a lot better, and they actually want to make training a competitive advantage. So how would we help them do exactly that? So they would partner with Reverse Tide to rethink and then deliver a best-in-class training infrastructure. Here are the things that they would seek to do. They want to know how all those subjects can be taught more effectively. They want to know how core skills like sales, presentations, Excel, and similar things like that can be an ongoing requirement for all employees. They want to know how they can make training satisfaction rates improve among their staff. They want to know how training costs can be streamlined for common subjects and better delivered for specialty subjects. And then finally, how they can leverage technology for their training needs. So we would help answer all of those questions and provide a strategic plan to get to the point where they want to be. And here's the expected result of that. So the company wants training to be a competitive advantage, remember that. And they want to see a tangible financial benefit to the organization. So we would help with training recruits to realize their potential. We'd help with cutting overall training costs and increasing effectiveness. We'd want to help them get employees to a minimum level of competency in technology skills and making continuing education a regular part of their culture. We'd want to build things like critical thinking, creativity, leadership, and an innovative spirit and make that a part of everyone's job. And then finally, allow employees to rotate across new positions more seamlessly. So that really helps them achieve that goal of being best in class and making training a competitive advantage. So we would help and utilize all of our experience, all of our perspectives, and all of our resources to help their corporate training program be outstanding and achieve all of the desired goals that they've listed. Okay, so example number 5, finally, is a university, and their aspiration is to completely overhaul their business model. So let's go to the scenario. A smaller university sees the future of education being much different than today's business model. With a shift away from classrooms and exams, traditional grading, degrees, high tuition and campuses, they realize that they should act today. And they need to overhaul their business model and be a pioneer in education's future rather than being a victim and stubbornly holding on to all the outdated principles that currently comprise their business model. So that's the scenario. They want to completely change the way that they deliver education. So how would we help them do that? So they would partner with Reverse Tide, and the reason they choose us is because they share our vision in terms of what education will look like in the coming years. So we both agree that the university needs to do the following in order to be competitive in the future. It needs to drastically reduce tuition and do that through non-education cuts, which would include things like administration, research, athletics, and admissions, the things that really bloat the budget today. Those things would need to be cut in a competitive model in the future. They would focus on outcomes, and the things more specifically are graduation rate, job placement rate, and not only just in total, but also within their major, and average starting salary, and trying to boost all of those different rates. Number 3 is they would want to cut requirements for on-campus learning and improve the technology to deliver learning more remotely so that you can study at their university using their content and their teaching anywhere in the world. And then finally, to focus on technology subjects, international business, and other important skills that are pertinent in the modern economy. So that's how we would help them. We would help them realize the vision of what we think the future of education will ultimately entail. And here's the expected result from that sort of a partnership is The university aspires to be the university of the future. So here's what it would look like. They would provide open admission for students across the world, where revenue is derived through an a la carte student volume type of model, rather than restricting the number of students and then charging really big-time tuition schemes like $50,000 that we see today. They wouldn't restrict their program to 18 to 22-year-olds, and they wouldn't restrict it to degree programs only. They would offer a la carte education, as we said before. They would deliver structured and high-quality learning programs for the most in-demand and relevant skills. So we talked about that earlier, things like technology and international business, the things that are demanded by today's workforce and by today's students. They would leverage the most innovative teaching methods. Now, we've talked about VR and AR as a great means of teaching, but also digital classrooms, group collaboration tools like Slack, GitHub, Stack Overflow, and all kinds of other tools and technology. And finally, they would use grading as a means of teaching improvement and really making sure that people understand the concepts, rather than the current system where it's used to rank students. So not only would they do that, their career services upon graduating their various programs would be based on portfolio, and not just the fact that you graduated or you had a certain GPA. It's what you've achieved based on those learnings. So that's what they want to do, is they want to be the university of the future. And because we share a very similar vision and we understand exactly how a company, a university can get there, we would help them and partner with them to do exactly that and achieve the result that we outline on this page. So there you go. 5 good examples of the services that we provide. Hopefully that's really, really helpful. And if you need more details in terms of different examples, or to really understand what Reverse Tide is all about, certainly go to our website at reversetide.com. Now, one last thing that I do want to mention is that these are 5 examples, and they're very big examples. They're complete business model overhauls in this example, or other very large projects. We understand that not everyone needs to do these giant overhauls. They don't want to spend necessarily millions of dollars on a project. Sometimes you just want to tweak various aspects of your model, show mild improvement, and we're more than happy to help with that as well. Our approach is to listen to the client, to listen to what their goals are, and then create a custom approach in order to deliver on those goals. So whatever your education or training needs are, this hopefully gives a good indication of what we can provide and what we would add a lot of value in. But certainly get into contact with us today, and we're more than happy to discuss your individual situation, to really listen to you and then figure out what's best in terms of moving forward. So if you're interested, or if you just want more details, want to talk to me directly, I'm the person who would ultimately lead a project like this, and I'm very happy to go over exactly what the ideas are and how this sort of a situation would work. So the best way to contact me is to go to Reverse Tide, or just to use our email address, which is contact@reversetide.com. And if you can't remember that, then go to our site. That's plastered all over the site in terms of how to get a hold of us. Okay, really appreciate you listening to all of our new services. We're really excited to deliver that and really hope to be in touch with you today. Thanks so much.